Welcome from the break. This is the second hour of the dialogue on Sol TV, where we discuss matters of national importance, especially the major events of the week. We are looking back at the sentiments now popping up in public discourse relating to tribalism and the whole discussion and conversation about discrimination and all that, but especially looking at a sensitive political season where we are where we are right now, and the effects of these sentiments at this point in time. Well, Dr. Werihe Wansala is in the studio, Dr. Kardani Rugarama, but also Richard Baguma is with us this morning. You can send in your comments as we now broaden the debate to the internal party elections that were held this week and concluded within the National Resistance Movement, the ruling party, but also the conflicts now escalating within the opposition ranks, as we saw the president of the National Unity Platform accusing his former deputy Commissioner of Parliament, Matthias Impuga, for being behind the arrests of the opposition supporters and leaders. Well, the response from Matthias Impuga was also tough, saying that Bobi Wine is a joker. Bobi Wine is dwelling on non-issues, but also he threatened to sue the new president. As we conclude on this matter and broaden the debate, Dr. Wanzala, generally, what now can you say about the direction the politics is taking as we head into 2026 general elections?
Apollo, I think the NRM government, which has been leading us for the last 39 years, needs to go back to the drawing board. In society or in any institution, especially armies around the world, there are norms that they do's and don't do's. That is why we have the defense spokesperson and public relations something. So that when information is coming from that institution, then it should be sieved, discussed, and then you also discover what effect is it going to have. Donald Trump is a politician. He can tweet. He can go on Truth Social, say anything. But do you hear people from the State Department and the military tweeting whatever they want to tweet? I think there are norms that need to be respected. If something's about the UPDF, it's official. I think it should be, then it should come from the army, and this is to prevent the controversies that may come with it. It is also very unfortunate when you occupy a certain office where you are charged with the responsibility to protect all Ugandans, regardless of their tribe or their religion, and then you raise controversy from an institution which has all the tools of coercion, and the resources. So we need to be careful about that. And then three, I think lately, even the head of state, I don't know whether being tired after 39 years, he no longer talks about those issues, the foundations of the NRA and this NRM and this state.
His Excellency, the President convened the UPDF High Command meeting with the Defense Forces Council, and the matter to discuss was related to indisciplined democracy and other matters.
Actually, that is the issue that I picked out.
Can't it be one of those issues possibly they discussed?
Now, I took it, actually that was the key word I picked from his communication, that he wants and they should promote disciplined democracy. But if I may challenge the head of state from the recent elections in Kawempe, where we saw the army very active in the theater of politics, beating civilians, disabling journalists, what disciplinary actions have been taken against those, for me to know that the head of state is serious about disciplined democracy. Because when you talk about disciplined democracy, it involves the institutions that are charged with delivering democracy, the individual actors, how you behave in these institutions where you are charged with public responsibility. So can I see, okay, in the 2020, we saw over 50 people killed on the streets, and the president acknowledged even the government report. Can I see action held on the individuals? Then I will know that the president is not only expecting disciplined democracy from the citizens, but also the institutions that the taxpayer pays to deliver that disciplined democracy. Then the other is that when you look at the gerrymandering of constituencies, districts, using semi-ethnic groups, accents, dividing. By the way, the division is going on systematically at local level. These are how clans becoming districts and pushing people away from discussing national issues and national cohesion to fighting over smaller things because of we don't speak the same language or our dialect is different. And then we are preoccupied with creating chiefs, kings, where they were not existing. Promoting this identity is okay. But if the units become so many, they can be exploited by wrong people for wrong reasons. What Richard talked about. That there's no reason with a sense of belonging. But some people can exploit it for wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah.
So, if this country is to move forward, let's handle the underlying issues that bring about this tribal talk. One, equal access to opportunities. When institutions of government are created, Uganda National Oil Company, are jobs advertised and people compete fairly. That is there. Two, if you are appointing heads of agencies and government parastatals, why do we continue after 30 years seeing reports from the Equal Opportunities Commission showing very serious imbalance? These need to be addressed.
Okay.
There are issues like torture. If you are torturing people from a particular group, then most likely they will exploit that.
All right.
And then we are torturing for fun. The way you communicate is that as if it is okay for you to disable someone and get the bones broken and you play about it. It causes anger in some sections of society. So if we can address those issues, then this big plant in the house called the tribalism, tribal talk, will go down.
Will go down. Comrade Rugarama, the defense council and the UPDF High Command sat to discuss, and what we got after the meeting was a communication from the head of state advising that politicians should refrain from indisciplined democracy. And I think he even related to what we are talking about here. Do you think we are handling this matter appropriately at this point in time, especially that we are in a season of politics, which in any way is a sensitive season?
What is of critical importance here, and we have already noted it, that there are certain conversations that we should not be having, but it is unfortunate that we are having them. I want to impress it upon the powers that be. It's very critical to let institutions perform professionally. Now that you have brought this topic, we would look extremely cynical and not serious if we are given opportunity to explain our positions and we do not give honest views. At least we are not part of the team that was written to. I don't know what my president and our president indeed meant by disciplined democracy. But if disciplined democracy meant that institutions which pick from the national coffers and use taxpayers' money must be allowed to operate professionally, then I agree with him 100%. My president and the patron of the Pan-African movement, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, is a Pan-Africanist. He's a patriot, and his outlook by practice is that he wouldn't be party to anything to do with...
Can you allow me read part of his message here?
Yes, please.
I chaired the UPDF High Command meeting yesterday and the Defense Forces Council meeting today at State House Entebbe. I emphasized the need for disciplined democracy in Uganda. The NRM advocates for disciplined democracy, not hooliganism or bad language, because we want Ugandans to decide what they want without intimidation. Politicians engaging in practices that intimidate citizens must stop. This is not the African way. The security agencies have discussed this issue, and it will come to an end. You must speak well in public. Do not resort to negative speech. Okay, I think that is
Now,
that is enough.
I really don't have any useful information to add onto that.
Could it be possible that he was relating to what we are
Yeah, I think
discussing?
really, honestly, so to the extent that he's addressing the politicians, I agree with him, because we have got some elements of indiscipline even in our politicians, because they would want to make a lot of political capital, because we have already made the point here that we don't see reason, and I think it was by consensus the entire panel here, that the letters from our brother Bob Wine to the elders, quote unquote elders, probably were even not useful. Why? Because whatever he's complaining about was not something that was coming from a tribe, sending somebody to do what he did. But what is also of great importance, like I have already noted about institutions performing, being allowed to perform. I think some officers must not be put in very awkward positions. There are certain things that national resistance movement cannot defend. For instance, how do you defend a situation whereby a very high ranking politician or military or civil servant has come up with things which are not conventionally within the domain of that docket he or she is handling? Now, having said that, I think we have seen, and the indiscipline we are talking about, we have seen, for instance, NRM concluded their reorganization of its
Grassroots structures.
Grassroots structures, LC1. And I want to, because we had more than 72,000 around there,
Villages.
72,000 villages. And by close of Thursday, almost 90% had been covered successfully. Of course, there were other elements, and those ones will always be there, even if it is whatever other geographical jurisdiction, whether it is America.
Violence?
There were violence, incidences of violence in Miranda. No, Miranda, I think they didn't just
And
for
you
the
say,
elections.
and you say violence will always be
It will
part
always-
of those elections, internal elections?
Yes, interestingly, there are contestations even within, even at the level of a family. You see, we are talking even about we are talking about political parties where all of you subscribe to one political ideology. Even in families where you are blood related, you will always have rivalry. You will always have disagreements and conflicts.
But not bloody conflicts.
No,
We saw-
sometimes even die. You have heard of families which kill each other. You know, we come from families. It happens. So that the yellow books, for instance, in Rugamiyaga, where the person, the registrar, was hid in a hospital, and it had to take my senior brother, Commissioner Chinove, to go and say no. Now, even without the yellow books, please come and have elections. Now you can imagine that level of indiscipline, I think, is what the president was talking about. And it is not only unique to NRM. It cuts across, but NRM is supposed to set an example as a mass party. So I condemn that. And I want to believe that those responsible should refrain from that kind of habits. Now, going forward, because we are now moving to other
As you
levels.
conclude.
Yes, we are moving to other levels whereby internally we shall be concluding the exercise of having our leaders. I want to prophesy that more than 85% of those that have been elected as chairpersons with their committees of NRM are actually going to come back as national chairpersons at the level of a country. Now, what does that tell? That tells, therefore, that in as far as the 2026 general elections are concerned, we have already taken it.
Sure.
Yes, we have already taken it, but I want to encourage my people within NRM to refrain from acts of hooliganism. I also want to encourage leaders across the board in the military, the civil service, to stick to the principles that govern their work.
Thank you so much. Richard, in the president's message, the head of state talks about in disciplined democracy, but he warns politicians to refrain from hooliganism and intimidation. Do you think he was relating to what we are speaking about, or perhaps it was the message was directed to those who participated in the internal elections? What do you think?
The message was to the High Command and the what?
The Defense Council.
So the High Command.
Who are the members of the Defense Council?
Defense Forces Council.
So the High Command and the Defense Forces Council. Are they the politicians who are indisciplined? Why does the message about discipline or lack of it among politicians come before the High Command and the Defense Council?
A lot of literature there. I hear him.
Yeah, is so you see.
Philosopher thinker.
What is this? That's why I tell people about Museveni observing, trying to study the enigma called Yoweri Museveni. It's a very exciting exercise. So you have the NRM SEC, you have the parliamentary caucus.
That's the political
you have,
wing.
Yes, you have. Why are you messaging
The Defense Forces.
to the politicians in discipline in
A Defense Forces meeting.
yes? What are you communicating? So I think it's important. You see, I think it's important for our viewers, for our listeners, to look at some of these nuances with a little bit more attention than just. I used to say that President Museveni will put on his fatigues and hold an AK. The president usually doesn't carry an AK, but when he's going to a certain function, the AK will be strapped here. Is there no communication in that? Is it incidental or accidental, or was that place the most risky? That even His Excellency the President, the Commander-in-Chief, had to have an AK.
Actually, not a pistol, but an AK.
Yes, yes. So you see,
It's a coded message.
Yeah, absolutely. We need, in my view, to read this. That you see, you politicians, you can go jump around, but Where is the center of gravity of power?
The army.
Here, where we are meeting. So be mindful of all the things you do and don't forget.
With these sentiments, do you think, or what do you think of the journey, the road to 2026? Is it slippery? Is it, what do you think?
For me, first of all, let me tell you, Papa, my greatest challenge is keeping my eyes on 2026. I struggle to keep my eyes on 2020. They have already jumped. 2020, and I keep repeating myself. But my eyes have already jumped 2026.
Okay.
Yes. Unless, and I keep saying this again, unless you have divine or biological issues happening, 2026 is concluded. Yes. There is not going to be seismic shifts in this country.
What is the general perception of the political future? Okay.
That this country, in my view, I keep saying this again, the fundamentals of power are still strong. The pillars of power are still strong. Our relationship with the outside, because the outside interferers are very important. Our security mechanisms, our security institutions are still strong. They are critically important. The economy has not gone down, despite all. Look at the fundamentals. This country has had a foreign exchange stability for 2 decades, consistent. What the dollar cost that one is what the dollar is costing now, which is the international currency. The players, the key players in the private sector have not shifted. You have the same guys, look at them. It's either them or the transitioning to their children. So this lack of digging around the foundations and the pillars to understand them and keeping the eyes on 2026 for me is good, but
so the tribal talk, the sentiments, the effects are inconsequential.
How this tribal talk? How was the Lubiri attacked?
In 1966.
Yes. What was the issue? What was the issue of an alliance between Dr. Obote
and Kawakai?
And what was Kawakai? So this, for me, this coming as if, I can understand that we have a huge young population which may not appreciate this. And we don't have records. We don't have records. People are dying off without recording these things. But even where some records are, we have zero culture of reading.
So that's terrible.
Yes, so we seem that when there are some of these, it is as if it has just started that this is new in the country. Obviously, it can get worse. It is possible because no one has a monopolistic knowledge of the future. But it is not that it is fundamentally new and this country is going to shift.
Comrade Rugarama says the pockets of violence that we witnessed in the NRM primaries are normal. They will be there anyway, anytime, even in the future.
You see, for me, what would be shocking is that we are not going to have a little bit more violence.
Oh, a little bit more.
That would be shocking for me. If in the general election we don't have a little bit more violence, that will be shocking to me. There is nothing for me now that indicates to me that ballot materials will not be kicked like they were here the other day. I have nothing to convince me that ballot. It was not the first time. I have no reason to be convinced that ballot stuffing will happen. I have nothing to convince me. I have nothing to convince me that you will not go to a polling station and find that you have not voted. I mean that you have voted. And you will be told that you have voted. And you will know that for your sake, you will peacefully go back.
And you go to vote, you find that you have already voted.
And you peacefully go back, quote unquote. For me, there's nothing, there are no circumstances that have shifted that would give me different
Thank you.
information.
Thank you so much. Viewers, we will be reading your messages in just 5 minutes. Send in your comments. We are talking about the general state of politics in the country, looking at the NRM primaries, looking at the the infiltration of sectarian and tribal narratives in the public discourse, but also we are looking at how the opposition figures are also engaged in infightings. Comrade Wanzara, reflecting on the NRM internal elections, do you think anything has changed from what we used to see during the NRM primaries, or from what you saw? Do you think has anything changed?
Yeah, contrary to public perceptions, especially those who are always negative, the NRM did not completely have a failed election. Of course, I think largely it was successful.
Yes.
Largely it was successful.
I think there were 400 polling stations that did not vote on that.
And there were
They
very
postponed.
credible reasons, yes. Either too much rain or maybe death and what have you.
But out of how many?
72,000.
Oh,
The only challenge I still have with the NRM politics is the deceit that everybody in that village is probably a member of the NRM. Because if you look at a register of, say, 20 million people, it assumes that almost everybody everywhere is a member of the NRM.
you remind me of the UPC slogan. Everybody everywhere.
And the register has always been the biggest point of contention.
True.
Now, in areas where people are not violent, actually, they just sit in a meeting like my place and they say, okay, now we even don't have to waste time on this register. Let's just let everybody line. And so in the process, people keep getting confused whether, like I received a call from Namisi or someone telling me, Gerard, you come and vote for your LOC1 chairman. I said, but I'm not a member of the NRM. What will I be doing there? Because the assumption there was that it was a voting day, everyone has to go and vote. Now, this kind of deceit does not build a party that is going to outlive the current NRM leadership, because people must become members due to conviction. People must be trained and they know the values as members and their duties and responsibilities. People must know that for us to be credible members of a political party, we need to have people of integrity. So, and you know, if you don't have a register of credible members, a voters register, then the outcome could be far from what you expected. That's why I always, if you go to my place here, the United Republic of Chirinya, last election they voted almost 90-something% opposition, okay, NUP, and Semuju who for parliament, who was FDC. But I saw characters also who are known to support these other groups are also in the field, lined up that they are voting for NRM leaders. So that level of confusion does not construct a party beyond...
Even at a polling station where the national chairman, okay, he didn't vote, but participated in this in this election, they found out that their register had Aryans, people who died, who either migrated, they were still in the register.
And that was, maybe if I can just give information, that was part of the reason. You see, what happens with the register? A register is a very interesting thing. It is the cornerstone of any credible election, but a register is never 100% clean. So even when we are having LOC1 NRM elections, we are still cleaning up the register. Because you are going to realize that there are people who have shifted away. You are going to realize that people who have died.
Yeah, they later found out that even Mama Janet was no longer a voter in that area.
That she had moved to her home district. Yes, exactly. So those ones will always be there. But overall, like my brother Jared here is saying, overall, I think NRM has done commendably very well.
Sure.
And I was about to conclude. Of course, this is also a challenge to our colleagues in other political parties. Can we be seen to exercise some democracy, even if it may have some shortfalls? At least less. I think the FDC is trying to maintain that culture of competitive, competing for office, competitive politics.
Yep.
I've seen the Secretary General and the sitting president
They had been fully
nominated to compete for position of flag bearer after fulfilling conditions, and they're going to run around the country to campaign. So I think that culture of democracy should be seen to happen, including our friends in Kavule. I know the circumstances may be very difficult, because it is very hard for you to do politics where every week the army is in your premises, breaking computers, carrying files. That disruption, it is extremely bad and extremely condemned. But even under circumstances, because I remember the time FDC was forming, the circumstances were not good either. The areas where their chairman actually would be kidnapped and hidden or bribed, they go the next day when the branch is not there. But even under the circumstances, they persisted and kept on.
To some extent, you see NRM setting a bar high
but they need to move away from this illusion that that register they have of the members is correct, because if they are all, because members will never betray your own party. If they are all members, how you have 20 members, how comes in the general election you only have 7 million? Where do the 13 million go?
We shall consider that, Jared. I can assure you it is something we have talked about here and elsewhere, that the strength of the register, NRM register, is supposed to be reflected even when we come for general elections. It's a gap we must cover.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me read some of the messages that are coming in. Good morning, Apollo and your esteemed panel. I firstly congratulate Cardinal Prevost, who is now Pope Leo the 14th. My request to the new Pope is to continue moving in the footsteps of Pope Francis, who always openly condemned those violating human rights, but always called for peace and reconciliation, and also thought about environmental conservation. Abel Keru Akampumuza, thank you so much, an ardent viewer, and thank you for being part of this discussion. Robert in Bunga, he says, yes, discussing tribalism should be in the past. Unfortunately, it is the reality we are living in this NRM era, and pretending to bury it under the carpet and pretend to have a clean house is hypocrisy. Mr. Baguma has analyzed it well, but Mr. Rugarama, crediting NRM, which preaches Pan-Africanism and does the opposite in distribution of resources and opportunities, it's a bomb which may explode if not properly addressed. Thank you so much, Robert in Bunga. And okay, other messages appreciating Apollo and the panel. Thank you so much. Okay, NRM is getting better each year, each cycle. Okay, well, there are positives. I think you can point out in this election. I saw in Bunga is in Machinde, I think. I saw youth, young people of 15, 17, 18, 19, 20 there, fighting on a polling station that they were denied an opportunity to vote, to participate, because their names were missing on the register.
Well, I think that is something that for NRM there was a solution. Although the strength really and the you standing and being voted or standing to be voted should be on the strength of the register, realizing that there are errors probably which are man-made. There are certain weavers, you say, and I think that's what happened in Rwemiyaga, whereby those who are known on the village, that's the purpose of the village, those who are known, and you say these are NRM people, and I saw even our deputy speaker in
Thomas Taiba in
yes,
Ruhinda.
Thomas Taiba there. There were also that kind of confusion, and it was sorted out by the commissioner. What is this? His name? He said, "No, are those people known on the village? Yes, it may not be the actual thing when you go by." When you want to cross the T's and dot the I's, but sometimes you have to do away with certain things, because the two wanted to stand for the chairmanship in that village, and there was a book. There is this notebook before the yellow book, and one was appearing in the other one and not in the yellow book. That could be an error, human error. And it was resolved. They said, no, as long as they are known on the village, it's okay. You can go ahead. So you will always correct some of these errors that way.
Okay.
And indeed to find that young men have now
were very
picked
bitter.
up,
They were very bitter that their names are missing
It was unfortunate.
in the register.
But it should have been the wisdom of those people who were in charge of that election to know that if both of them are known on the village and they are professed NRM people, they should go ahead and compete.
But how do you now know that these are your members if they are not on the list? And actually that's what happened in some areas. They opened up for everyone who is
Like
Yes, and
to come and vote.
it is not only this time around, by the way. You remember, now at least there is a credible register. At least, although with those, credible. Although with those errors, somebody was accusing me on TV for supporting NRM. No. That shouldn't be. Please, you be kind to me like I can be kind to any other person who supports anything. Whether you're supporting Noop, and this is the tolerance that we talk about.
Okay.
You have to tolerate somebody with a different shade of opinion.
Thank you. Richard, did you find this process anything better from what we have seen in the NRM internal elections?
Yes, for me personally, I thought it was better. The previous times they have said, "Oh, let everybody go."
Yeah.
Yeah. Now at least there was an attempt to debate around the.
A good number.
Yes, there was an attempt to debate around what do you call it? Where people are.
The register.
The register.
The yellow book.
There was an attempt for millions to, go around the register. But the other time, if you remember,
Yeah, they say the former Secretary General and the daughter had gone with the.
They actually did away last time. They did away with the register. There was nothing.
frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I think
We're over 80%.
this time it was the
Credit to NRM.
yeah. However, of course, the NRM, with the might it claims, the register should be the list of its problems.
All
So
right.
let me tell you, Apple, where you saw some 17-year-old or 15-year-old coming to fight, all these were premeditated. Some candidates would know
Yeah.
that I'm going to have trouble at that. So I would go there and cause trouble.
Yeah.
I get a few boys, I facilitate them, and I prepare my social media and whatever to run.
Oh.
Yes. So we shouldn't be duped. So I want to really give credit that this time compared to the past.
We only have less than 10 minutes. Richard, can you
Yes.
make a comment on, as we talk about NRM concluding its processes, as we talk about their processes now becoming better and better, looking at the largest opposition party, the infighting, this now war between, a battle between Kyagulanyi and his deputy. What do you make of that and these accusations and the counter accusations?
No, they took too long to come. They took too long to come. Where is the constitution? of that party. So which constitution is it? There even is no constitution that is agreed upon by this Rajist.
But the deputy
Where is the difference? Where is the difference between this and a member of parliament the other day was saying she contributes $1 million shillings, and they all do, to the son of the principal.
Hey.
To the account of the son of the principal to do his studies or whatever he does in America.
Hey.
So where is the difference? Where does it? The incidents of the NRM were 400 out of 72,000.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the incidents of these ones. Vis-a-vis the polling station they will have.
Are different. Their processes are different.
Yeah, but
the other ones don't go for those open elections. They have a selection process.
They are even better democratically.
Yeah.
There is no openness.
They are democracy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Comrade Rugarama, as we conclude, let me now come to this side. What do you make of this conflict now, the battle between Mpuga and Kyagulanyi, especially at this time?
It is my submission, Comrade Apro, that it is unfortunate that we have got the main opposition party in this country exposing a lot of fracture in its infancy. The National Resistance Movement, at least, started fracturing, getting some of these political shortfalls much later, when we were in probably 2000, having come.
That was movement.
Yes,
we are all in movement.
Absolutely, but you see, there was that formation had the people that brought it.
Okay.
And therefore, to have the opposition fracturing, main opposition fracturing the way it is now, is very unfortunate, which makes me think that if they do not put their act together, their political future is in limbo. And I'm not going to lie that I'm sad. From the intellectual part of it, when I'm discussing, this is what I can say. But as an NRM man, I think it is very good news that we have got our opponents who want to wrestle power from us, expose themselves, fracture, and if need be, die. But we do not have, as NRM,
you're helping them
we
to
do
die.
not have to kill them. I have always emphasized, and I'm concluding by saying, NRM, it will be credit to us to, as much as humanly possible, enable the political climate to allow the opposition to flourish, and if they must fall and die, let them do on their own.
Your final comment.
And therefore, having said that, I want to thank the NRM for having concluded the first phase of this political activity. I'm looking forward to having the next steps concluded fairly. I realized that some heavyweights went back and some have been embarrassed there. That is how democratic NRM can be. I also recognize the fact that as NRM, I've said this and I will repeat
I heard that Solomon Silwanyi was floored by a 19-year-old.
The Ambayos and what have you were also given a blow. But at the same time, generally speaking, we have found our level. The start is good. But I want also to impress it upon the government to check some of the excesses from our members.
All right.
And at the same time, especially what is happening in Sembawere, Rugamiyaga in particular, and other isolated parts. But very finally, I want to call upon the government to fix, because we have the capacity, especially our president, to fix some of the things like tribal talk that is now coming out, because it does not feature well on the legacy of NRM.
Dr. Wele, your final comments, if you would like to speak about these fights between now Mpuga at this point in time.
Well, the
worldwide.
fight between the Honorable Mpuga and the principal, the other side, is a fight between a deflated tire and a moving vehicle. So the two cannot compete. I think Chagulanyi is still a moving vehicle with a magnet, and that creates more problems for Mr. Mpuga, who looks more of a deflated tire now, especially within the central region where they both come from. And then lastly, when we talk about democracy, there is the demand side where we the citizens are, and then the supply side where the government entities are, executive, the legislature, political parties. So I want to ask that let those on the supply side of democracy put their houses in order, the army, the police, such that the electoral commission have a chance of trying to midwife a better electoral results from the demand to the demand side of democracy. And of course, lastly, I have a brother who is very active in NRM. I congratulate him in Toro municipality, He, the people just say this one is ours, unopposed for both positions.
Wow.
Let's move forward. So I congratulate him.
Congratulations, namesake. Good morning, moderator.
About foreign things.
No, he has always been there. He has always been there, only that we debate a lot.
Good morning, moderator. The fact that the First Lady General Museveni appears twice in the NRM register is a clear indication that these movement people are good at hiking numbers during elections. They told us that there are about 1.9 million members in their party. 19 million members in their party. Who knows that there are members appearing in their register more than once? That means that there are those that do appear 4 times in the register. This is Robert Tenywa in Ginger. I think the case of Mama Janet, he was in the register for Rachtura, but later migrated to Ntungamo, applied to vote from Ntungamo.
Yes. And some of these errors probably have not been captured. And
so we are not so sure that he has been registered for Ntungamo.
But Apollo, you should cut these registrars some flack. You really wanted the registrar to cut off the first lady's name from Rachtura? Franca? Anybody expected that?
And he said, thanks for the program. I thank Mr. Rugarama for his good messages. For me, I am Christine Tushabomwe. Ndibule Butelevu ku Sol TV. You have someone appreciating out there.
No, there are many.
I agree.
We are dead.
Okay.
By the way,
let me read this one and we conclude. I agree with Richard that this tribal talk in Uganda will not end unless there is an equitable distribution of resources in Uganda. Xavier in Kaboa. And very many other messages I cannot read now because we are signing out. You had to make a concluding.
I would like really to say that one is the tribal talk is not going to end very quickly. The second thing, milking the tribal talk by whichever politician, however principled or not, is also going to continue. But finally, trying to intimidate one side and manipulate the elders and whoever you want to manipulate on either side, by the way, through speaking about the tribe or language or trying to claim that your misdeeds are on tribal grounds, that is not going to help anybody. And I don't want to be part, and I invite everybody not to be part of those who are intimidated.
Wow.
In a corner because of the group they belong to.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Baguma, Comrade Rugarama, and Dr. Wanzara. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, our viewers. You can follow you can follow up on these recordings on YouTube, Salt Media Uganda, the dialogue, and then on Twitter or X, it is also there, Salt TV Uganda. Look out for those recordings and you can post your comment or contribution on that, on that observation on that recording. My name is Prince Apollo. I once again congratulate the 1.3 million believers in the Catholic Church. 1.4
billion.
Billion, yes. billion Catholics for a new Pope. Good afternoon, and God bless you.
Pope is for us all, whether we like it or